So, okay. This whole cyberpunk thing is really fucking weirding me out. First of all, no, this isn't a goddamn video about the fucking game. This is a thought exercise, right? If we look at the imaginings of people who have really put a lot of effort into their imaginings, that's a good place to start from, right? I'm going through cyberpunk withdrawals. It's the weirdest fucking thing. I played like 250 hours of that game. I played through it 3 times back to back to back. And then I said, I'm not playing this game anymore. I have to play something else. And I started playing Assassin's Creed 3 just kind of as a thought exercise, right? Just to kind of go back and look at the way things, in a kind of made up virtual setting, you know, how things are portrayed by people who put a lot of thought into this shit, right? These Assassin's Creed games, like, they don't fuck around with a lot of their shit. They put a lot of thought into these games, right? So, you know, because they're trying to actually build the world at the time. So they put a lot of thought into shit. You can take that for what it is. But nevertheless, I look at it, again, a good place to start. So, I'm going through cyberpunk withdrawals. So, I'm trying to not play the game, but I'm going through cyberpunk withdrawals. So, all I'm doing is watching videos about cyberpunk and, you know, listening to music from cyberpunk and shit like that. Like, I'm still in the world, I'm just not playing the game. Right? And I was taking a shit one day, and I was just kind of fucking around on my phone, and I was looking up cyberpunk. This was actually when I was playing the game, mind you. This is not like today. This was weeks ago, right? Sitting on a shitter at work, and I'm looking at cyberpunk stuff, and there's this character in the game that they mentioned in the game, and I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, they mentioned this asshole over and over and over again. Who is he? Like, why is he not in a fucking game? So I look him up, and I find out that Cyberpunk 2077 is based off of a role-playing game called Cyberpunk 2020. And I'm like, I remember that game. I used to play a lot of role-playing games. You can't see because the flag's covered, but that whole bookshelf, like half of it is role-playing game books and shit like that. I've got all manner of role-playing games book. I used to always be going to the role-playing game book store to get game books and stuff like that. And I remember seeing Cyberpunk 2020. And I remember looking at it and thinking it was kind of cool, but I liked Shadowrun, which is pretty much the same fucking thing. And looking at the Cyberpunk 2020 books, I thought it was GURPS. Like, I thought it was GURPS. For those of you who don't know, GURPS was generic roleplay system. GURPS, right? Essentially, they would have books like Guns. That would be the title of the book. And it would just have rules for guns. This type of gun, or this type of gun, this type of gun, this type of gun, this type of gun. And it was just books and books of rules for shit. You know, it would be like cities, and it would have all manner of different rules on how to make cities and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And cars. And it would be like, they might as well have made them white books with black lettering on the front. That's how fucking generic the shit was. GURPS, generic roleplay system. It was filler shit. It was filler content. I got a GURPS book because I wanted to, you know, just have different rules for different types of stuff, and I just use it for, you know, this thing or that thing or whatever. And like, it was that type of a thing. Everybody was embarrassed to have GURPS books, but they were useful. I have no GURPS books because, GURPS. So I thought it was GURPS, right? I thought it was like GURPS Shadowrun. But no, It's its own role-playing game. Laid out world, story, system, the whole fucking thing. Background, history. The game's got like 50 years worth of history. And so I'm going through Cyberpunk withdrawals. So I'm listening to this dude, this channel, who's just essentially reading history and lore. He's just giving history and lore, and this is the setup of this, and this is how this works, and this is what... He's just explaining the fucking world structure. And I'm in the Discord server chatting back and forth with somebody, and I just got it kind of playing in the background. I'm half paying attention to, because a lot of it I already know, so I'm just kind of half-ass paying attention to it while I'm chatting with this dude. And it gets to a point where they start talking about combat zones. Now here's where we get into the good part, right? All the rest of that was... Alright. All that before, setup. Now we're in the actual video. They start talking about combat zones. Now, I will give you the rough explanation of what a combat zone is. Gangs became very highly prevalent. They became, you know, very, very good at being gangs. Because cybernetics kind of equalized the playing field in the favor of those with more cybernetics. So the police, not being paid very well now, probably not being paid very well then, you know, they do get like cybernetics and stuff like that, but usually it's nowhere fucking near the quality of shit that these guys on the black market get. So the police just kind of started losing the fucking war. They couldn't handle these gangs, they couldn't handle the shit that was going on, they were underfunded, they were not enough manpower, right? So what they did was, they would take these areas of like high violence, like these gang war territory areas, you know, like there's this gang territory, and then there's this gang territory, and then here's this fucking line in the middle, and that's a combat zone, right? Like that's where these gangs are constantly just fighting each other. And they just kind of said, well, so long as they keep the violence to the combat zones, you know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things. Essentially, the cops said, look, we can't handle you guys, but can you please at least, like, understand that there are innocent fucking people in the city? And can you just keep it, you fight all you want, we don't fucking care. Just do it in this 6-block radius. Just keep it there, and we won't fuck with you. But if it comes outside of that area, we're just gonna mow you down. We're just gonna fucking kill you, because again, we can't deal with you, so we just have to fucking kill you. We can't control you. All we can do is say, that's your fucking playground, go kill each other, or we're gonna fucking do it as soon as we see you. Right? Apparently, there are some notable combat areas. There's one in Hong Kong that's called the Hell of 1,000 Cuts, because it's kind of like a house rule. You use blades. If you fight in that combat area, you use blades. And if you have a gun, you're either Yakuza, a fucking corpo rat, or a pussy that doesn't belong there in the first place. Right? Essentially, everybody will hunt you, and everybody will really enjoy hunting you. Right? Like, those are essentially the options for the way you're going to be perceived. You walk into that area with a gun. Otherwise, you better use a knife. Right? Like, that's kind of the notable thing about the Hong Kong combat area. There's one, the worst combat area is, I believe it was in Detroit, or it was either Detroit or Chicago, I can't remember. I want to say it was Detroit. I might be wrong on that. It might have been Chicago. But the combat zone was so bad that the citizens of the city walled it off. Like, they all kind of banded together and put a wall around the area. They just slowly built it over the years. And now, anybody caught trying to come out is immediately killed or thrown back in. Anybody that goes in has committed the crime of going in, and guess what? You don't get to come back out. Anybody born in that zone has committed the crime of being born in that zone, and they don't get to come out either. It's a, we ain't fucking around with you people. You guys are just way too fucking violent. We had to enclose you when you didn't notice. Like, while you guys were killing each other, we slowly built a wall around you to keep you away from us. Right? Like, and it's fuck it. That nobody gets anybody goes in, fuck it, you ain't coming out, because nobody comes out. Right? Like, that's the rules. So those are some notable combat zones. Now, during the Chaz, there was pretty much lawlessness. More or less gangs controlled the whole fucking area. There was no police presence because the police put up barriers and said, you guys keep your shit in there and you ain't got nothing to worry about. We won't fuck with you. Bring it out here, we have to arrest you and all that shit. You stay in there and go crazy. Do what you want to do. Because we can't handle you. We're underfunded. We don't have the manpower. And then the people of the Chaz started to build a wall to enclose themselves into their combat zone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that as I'm hearing this, as I'm talking to somebody else and just have this shit playing in the background, I'm just like, oh my god, I saw that. I saw a combat zone. This fucking summer, we had a combat zone. But yeah, let's defund the police. You know what I mean? Like, really all we need is for a very slight amount of things to change very minutely. And for one thing to change massively. And we're in cyberpunk. All we need is for a couple of things to just change very slightly. And we need cybernetics to actually work. And we're in cyberpunk. That's it. So, yeah, I just thought you guys might find that interesting. The whole combat zone. The police can't handle the violence. So we have zoned off this area, and that is just a no-go for anybody who doesn't want to be involved in violence. And in some places, if you go in there, we ain't letting you come out. Because now you're part of them. And none of them get to come out. And we don't know which one of you is which, because we don't fucking pay attention to who's in there, because we don't care. They're all violent criminals. You know what I mean? Like, don't give a shit about race, gender, creed, none of that. Nope. Everybody on the other side of that wall, criminals. We don't care. That's why we built this wall around them. Dude, I just... there's all manner of dystopian futures that in fiction that all we need is for a couple of things to change very, very slightly, and for one aspect of life to change massively. Right? We could even kind of technically have Shadowrun if only one aspect of life changed massively and we got magic into the world. You know what I mean? Like, then we could kind of almost have Shadowrun. Dude. I don't know. It's just, I hear these kind of things and it makes my fucking wheels spin and I start going, ooh, that's starting to sound really close to reality. I don't know how much I like dystopian fiction to start sounding a lot like reality that I'm currently living in. It's cool that we're getting closer to cyberpunk, but god damn it, we need cybernetics for all the rest of it to be fun. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't mind combat zones so much if we got the cybernetics. If I could get a fucking metal arm that has a sword that comes out of it, hey! Combat zones, sure. Why not? Because we're going to be at that point. Where the police just won't fucking be able to handle the citizenry because they'll just be too well armed at that point. And they won't be able to fucking tell who's got what. I don't know, has that guy got fucking real muscles? Or are all of his muscles entirely fucking synthetic? I can't tell. Yeah, dude. I kind of want a metal arm. Like, ultimately, the point of this video, I kind of want a metal arm. I really kind of want a metal arm.